You ready?
Yep.
All right, we'll call the meeting to order. I'd make a motion, we adopt the agenda as amended.
Second.
Aye.
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 Delegation, Julie Carlson.
Is that me?
Yeah, you're up, Julie.
That was quick.
Yeah. The reason I came this evening is a policy that we either have or don't have here concerning out of district tuition. I don't understand, and over the years I've asked why we don't do that. Why we don't charge for kids that don't live in the district to come to school here. One answer I received was, well, we can't do that if it's gonna affect what we get paid per student. Another answer I got here in the last couple of years was, well, they're planning on moving here. But you know, until they plan on moving here, why don't we charge something? $50 a kid, $100 a kid, because how is it fair to those of us who live in this district to pay all the taxes and them to pay nothing when it comes to this school? That's my question. I would like to see it changed, that something, they have to pay something.
I don't know the answer to that.
I don't know
Is there a comment you want to make to that, or?
I mean, we've just never had a charge for out of district. We don't, they pay the same fees that in-district kids fee pay. If that was a tech fee, then they'd pay a tech fee, but we
I'm
don't have
sorry,
a
I can't
charge.
hear what you're saying.
I'm saying we don't have a charge other than a tech fee. Normally, we waived that this year, but for in-district kids, that's something that the board can look at.
With the out-of-district students, is there an increase in staff that we have to do anything?
No, when we have out-of-district students, our position has been that as long as they're in good standing and we don't have to, and we have adequate space and we have adequate staff, if they're in good standing in their district, then we have accepted them. So that's been the stance in past practice.
Number of students?
This year, looks like we're at about 74.
And we do get the money off of the.
We get the FTE, yes.
Which
So the federal.
is, how much is that?
We get government money.
$4,706 per student this year.
But all of us that don't have students that go to this school, that live in this district, pay taxes. But yet, these people that don't live in a district don't pay anything. I just don't see the fairness in that.
We get that same amount on our kids that are here too, right, district?
Yeah,
Same
they don't
FTE.
judge.
FTE.
So net, the actual district gets more money.
$348,244 is what we would get off 74 students and 47 students. Without increasing staff or anything, so.
So we haven't ever felt the need that we've had to increase staff, or do we feel the need?
If we have a situation where we're full, like if we have in the 8th grade this year, we wouldn't have accepted any out-of-district students
Because they're,
because we're full.
Okay, so we would just put a cap on it, not something
We do put it, if we feel like we can't
service the
service
children.
the children, I mean, we don't take any others from out of district because we may have some in-district kids that show up.
Have we ever turned any down?
Yes, we have. For not being in good standing or for being in a class that's already too full.
Have we had to increase the tax on taxpayers of the community for this? Has there ever been a tax increase for more money for the school district because of the number of students?
Well, when you generate more money, the only thing there's not a specific tax for that, but when you generate more money in the general, then your LOB goes up too. because you, whatever the percentage is.
So by doing that, it does raise the taxes on local people then.
In a sense, I guess, if you look at it like that.
Anybody else have any questions on that?
Just on average, is it right around this 60, 70 students per year, or any idea?
Well, obviously, we've increased from the Northern Heights district with Reading shutting down. That's, when that happened, we increased the number of students that came here.
How many students are we up right now for this year,
Uh,
last year?
on out of district or,
All
Total.
total, yeah.
I'd have to refer to these guys. We're about where we thought we were gonna be, I think.
700 and is that about what?
I don't have that number in front of me right now, Brent. I'm sorry. I don't. These guys might have head count numbers. I don't know if you do or not.
I've got an approximate number.
Yeah, my head count right now is 343, it's probably about the same as what it was last year. We get some, we lose some. So pretty state average.
My
Do you know how much per family, I don't know how it works on family, like how much my taxes are coming to the school, how much is Tony's, how much is Mike's, you know? How much is each family or each household, I guess, would be, what is their amount of taxes that I pay to come to this school? I don't know if that's a question that can be.
That's
answered or
not consistent. It's based off your, it's
Appraised
based off your appraised value of your,
Okay.
yeah, it's not consistent, Julie, for everybody. It would vary from person to person.
Okay. Because I just feel like there's some way that maybe we could come up with a average or a something so that these people are helping pay for this school. That it's just, for anybody that's going here, should have to help pay for it.
So those kids that are coming here, we're getting the FTE count on that, which is 320, did you say, Jim?
$348,244.
homes. There's a 30% of that would be OLB that matches, that's the local tax burden. But that 348 also helps us in salaries and stuff, and we're not increasing staff for those kids. So we're getting money to help the district through that.
You know, that's just on what.
But are their parents helping pay for
I
it?
understand what your point is, and no, they're not.
Yeah.
But the school in general is getting additional
Our
money.
taxes keep going up and up and up.
I couldn't quite hear what, is that you, Todd?
Yes.
Okay, I can't hardly see anyway, but, now I got my glasses on. Did you just say on that 348 that there's 30% LOB,
Yeah,
that the local, that the taxpayers in the district pay?
Right.
Okay.
That's what it would be.
So that's the increase that we pay as a tax base on all the other taxpayers. We pay an additional 30% to have those kids come from out of district.
So that 30% generates, the 30% that the taxpayers are paying because those kids here are here also generates the 340,000 that we use to pay for stuff that.
I'm asking that for a later question later on when we get to that, so.
But they're not paying taxes like we are.
But basically, you're still saying that the taxpayers are paying an increase by having out-of-district students come in. It's maybe not a lot, but they still have to pay it.
I wouldn't call it an increase, it's a,
In a roundabout way we do.
in around about,
I mean, you gotta pay out on that 348 because it's FTE money that's coming.
Yeah, it increases your,
general budget money that
it increases your overall budget, which increases
The LOB.
the LB. That's true.
Does anybody else have any questions on that? I don't have an answer for you, Julie, and I don't know if anybody else can give you an answer, but it's something that we can look at, I guess, at some point in time.
That's always something the board can study.
I mean, I didn't expect an answer, I just thought, I was hoping that maybe it could be something that the board can, sorry about that. That the board can discuss and maybe come up with a different policy on that. Is my hopes.
I probably learned more about it just now than I knew about it before, so.
Yep.
Alright, no questions for Julie then? Eric Tincher.
Good evening, everyone. So the question that I have is not only sweeping the nation, I'm just curious, as a grandpa who's going to have a first grader come into our school district, is what is USD 420 Board of Education stance on the teachings of critical race theory?
Let me answer that.
I'll turn that over to you.
Well, I can answer that. We teach the state standards, the Kansas state standards. The critical race theory is not part of those standards. So we do not teach the critical race theory. As a district, we're committed to helping all students feel valued and prepared for the future. But we do not teach critical race theory.
Thank you for your time.
All right, any other debate or questions on that? All right. Correspondence.
We had one correspondence, and that was a thank you from the Osage City Chamber of Commerce to the school for, this would be for the fair and the community fireworks and the Peterson Farm Brothers Show, using the facilities.
Treasurer's report.
Okay, treasurer's report, I'm gonna go on back. Notice that, if I can get there. On the treasurer's report, there's not a lot to talk about this time. We did get some general money on 713, general fund. You'll notice under capital outlay, there's the money for the bleacher wood that was sold. And over on ESSER 2, under that heading, that is the drawdown for the HVAC system. Okay, next page, we have Capers flow through, and then we have Jones Grant. We did get the mobilizing literacy for the year in there. Going back to petty cash. On the petty cash, we would need $30 for the superintendent's office. Payment of the bills. I did not see anything substantially worth noting on the first page unless you have a question. Second page, Cotton O'Neill Orthopedics, $13.50 for athletic training. That's our fee for the year for having Brad here to be our athletic trainer. Heartland Seating, we had a payment of $10,000 for the bleachers. They are here. That was shipped in today, and they are in process. Okay.
Did they have an update when the backs would be in?
I haven't heard anything different than September 20th.
September, okay, I couldn't
Yeah.
remember exactly what you said.
Yeah. Down towards the bottom, Langford Enterprises, that's the gym floor cleaning. That was $6,200 and the refinishing. On the next page 3, McElroy's 8, that's the payment that you just saw in the treasurer's report for the HVAC system in the Homewood gym. Down a little bit further, you see Osage County Sheriff's Office, and that is the first half payment for the SRO. We will be getting a new SRO in January. Officer Rooks has taken a different position within the department, and they'll be working on training somebody right now. Rydell All-American Sports, 16, there's some additional helmets and pads that we needed for football. Schweikert's Tecta America, that is repairs to the roof this summer. If you remember, we had that evaluation and those were priority B. They call those priority B repairs. At the UMB Bank, those are bond and interest payments for this time. And that's all I had right now. Questions?
What is an end zone system?
I'm assuming that's something to do with football. That's the football camera system, I
It's
think.
it's a new football camera. The other one just aged out and pretty flimsy, so kinda got a better one.
Okay.
And that, they use it for huddle,
What's
Yes,
that?
it's the one they use
it's
for
the
huddle.
camera
and-
system, it's the
Yeah.
camera system.
Is that the one clear up top of the
Yeah.
pool?
I have one question that's been asked by a couple of different board members. Carlson Lawn carrying the amount of $500 for spreading wood chips.
Yeah, that's the use of his skid steer, and he does that on it outside, that's, we do have a tractor, but it would take, we have a full pallet or a full truckload of wood chips, which would take, with our equipment, a long time to do, so. What he uses is, skid steer, which is a lot faster than what we could do it. Like, a lot faster.
Quicker than 20 hours.
Say what?
Quicker than 20, that's 3 days pay, $500, so that's why, I mean, it's,
Yeah,
at $20 an hour, that's $800, so yeah, $20, that's 25 hours. I understand why the question was asked, so I mean, if that's the explanation, that's fine. I also had this. There should be a letter somewhere from them.
I don't know. I don't have one, I don't think.
Why I have it, so, since we didn't have this in the other deal, I will read this. We have a letter from ONCEA. Would like to thank the negotiating board members for their kindness, understanding, and openness in bargaining. The communication between the teams had an ease, and we felt very appreciative for the change.
I don't know I don't know if I missed that somewhere or what. Sorry.
Have it in the school superintendent's box.
It's what?
I put the note in the superintendent's.
Okay,
middle school.
sorry, I don't know, it's probably still in there. I don't have it, I didn't get it, sorry about that.
Pay cash report.
Petty cash, we just need $30 for the superintendents.
Okay, payment of bills. This is time for me to make a motion.
Yes, yes, we've gone through all that.
I will make the motion, we adopt the minutes of the regular board meeting of July 14, 2021. We approve the treasury report of July 31st, 2021. Petty cash report of $30 into the superintendent's fund. And we pay the bills or payment of the bills in the amount of $986,543.94 for August 11th, 2021, and July payroll in the amount of $77,665.61.
Second, aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries. Old business. So before we get started on this, I made a little statement up that I'll read real quick and then we can go from there. At our June 9th, 2021 school board meeting, we voted unanimously to not mandate masks for the 2020-21 school year. We did state we would follow Osage County Health Department recommendations, which at the current time is to highly recommend the use of masks. On August 6th, during our pre-board meeting prep session with Mr. Hutton, which him and I meet on Fridays before our board meeting, he received information on an executive order number 13988 regarding federal transportation mask order in regards to masks being mandated on school buses. I've handed out some information, some materials on that issue. I believe they have some in the crowd also. There is a statement from the National Association for Pupil Transportation that states there's a statement from the National Association for Pupil Transportation. The TSA clarified the security directive implementing Executive Order 13998 does not apply to school buses. The second set of papers I handed out goes to the order that was sent out, which is the executive or the orders from the CDC or whatever it was. And it says, the first one, 70.2, that they can take over in the case of measures in the event of inadequate local control. So as you can see, what was handed out or sent out from KSD did not give the school boards all of the information. They're attempting to take away the authority as a school board. What would be next? In closing, I believe our school board has done a great job of representing not only the staff of USD 420, but also the people of the district. I don't believe we want the federal government running our school district. We should be able to have a say in what happens in our schools. And with all that being said, let's open this up to a discussion regarding the federal transportation mask mandate. So if anybody has a question, we'd like to talk about that. Did everybody get the copy that you? that
I
you and
don't,
had?
no, I don't believe that, I put it in
This
my,
one come out from the CDC,
I put it in the board update, but
which
I
the
did not send it.
CDC has no authority to create laws, they can only enforce, which is why the 70.2 is put there, which basically says the only way they can take over is if they say there's inadequate local control.
So what you're make sure I understand, so this is in reference
In their order right here, their
of their
order
order
says,
saying that we need to.
which you may not have. So it says the way they come to this is the applicability is pursuant to 42 USC 264, and the numbers are CFR 70.2, and then the other two pages that are attached to that are the other two things that are hooked to that, which are actually on quarantine issues.
So, meaning, they said all public transportation needs to wear a mask, but technically the fine print or sequential communication said this is not.
The order was meant to be.
Yeah, just wanna make
If you
sure I
go back and read the original order, it's meant for trains, airplanes, national buses. It's not meant for school, and that's why the National Association of Pupil Transportation put out their letter.
So, it would stand with our current order, which is masks recommended but not required.
Correct. And the
Okay.
Transportation and Security Administration on the bottom of that clarified this week that it's a secretary directive implementing Executive Order 13998 does not apply to school buses. Here's what's really bothersome about this whole deal. This doesn't come out until August the 6th or August the 5th, you got it right?
Last Thursday, whatever date
So
that was.
August 5th, we met on the 6th,
What came out
so.
last week? This one, the
Oh, no, the mandate, the federal mandate.
They,
However, it was enacted in law on January 21st, 2021, and went into effect on February 1st, 2021. So why did it wait this long to get here? I can tell you my opinion is that the, whoever doesn't want the school boards to have any authority on anything, and that's one way they take it away from them. And that's the problem I have, is that where does this stop?
Okay, so this is the first time seeing this, hearing this, anything for the 70.2 CFR. So if I'm just reading the words in there, and again, just saying this out loud, so I might be reading them incorrectly. So we have when the director determines that the measures taken by health authorities of any state are insufficient to prevent the spread. I feel like that's at the state level, not a
Which brings us
school
back to,
level.
they have, everything right now, they are using this as a federal mandate, and it's not a federal mandate. If you go back to what everybody recommends from the state level, it's masks are highly recommended. But they're trying to make it where it's something other than that.
So we're just saying, this is just showing that we do not, it does not have to be.
This is showing that
We
what
do
they're
not
saying
have
is
to.
not correct, and I mean, anybody can look this stuff up, I took
Right.
a couple hours, maybe per day. I really thought everybody had the original copy, or I would have sent
yeah,
that
I did
out, or
not,
I'd have it sent
I
out
put
to
it
you.
in my board update, I did not send you the whole thing.
Cause I went through everything to find all of it, to make sure I was correct on it. I mean, I even called some legislatures and some attorneys to make sure I was reading it correct and how I was reading it, and I was absolutely correct. And which leads me into more stuff, because everything comes back to, it's state, in my opinion. That's who's gonna tell you from a school board. So in an order that came out today, we got a KSB suggested language regarding recommendation order issued by local health departments. And KSB recommends that local school boards and administrators follow the recommendations orders issued by their local health departments. That's another one that I handed out to you in there somewhere, it's a single page.
That was an attachment that was sent today from
The one,
county health.
yeah, with Jack, or, county health officers.
So there's several things out there that if you go checking, that there's some reaches going on that may not be totally correct. And then some other stuff I come up with, and I had to write these down, I couldn't have time, I was running out of paper doing that too. Questions that I would have for Troy is there are known educational and emotional consequences of mandating masks on children. What analysis did you do to determine the potential medical benefits far exceed the known educational and emotional consequences, if they have claimed to done any? And can I see the documentation, or do you have it with you tonight? How many confirmed cases of COVID are attributed to the district last year, meaning it was caught at school, how many adults and how many students? I'd like to see that documentation. And KDHE attributes 1,881 cases to schools. There are about 475 students and 72,000 employees. That means 0.34% of the school universe had COVID. If Osage City was typical of that state, that would be less than 3 cases in our schools.
I don't know, Lisa, do you have any
And that would be caught at school, not come to school with.
come to school?
One.
Case last year that I know of, but anything happened, we weren't unaware of.
I don't have a study.
I kind of
I don't have an emotional study.
I don't answer. Nope.
Just have to be careful. But I mean, I'm making all these points for a reason. This is not affecting our kids at school as much as we think they are. And at some point in time, if we're gonna follow somebody, let's follow the people that are medically inclined. The county nurse, who clearly states, highly recommend, don't mandate. The state, the CDC, same thing. So I don't know why we would not follow their suggestion on this. We have the option that if something was to have a big outbreak, we can change it.
Yeah.
But I don't wanna do that as the first line of defense when we have kids that need their education, because they've been deprived of a lot of things already, and we need to make sure that doesn't happen anymore.
Is this open to discussion from the floor at this time?
Here in a little bit.
Okay.
If you have some of that documentation, I'd let you talk now.
I've got some documentation, but it's not what you want to say.
I mean, there's a whole lot of things that I think everybody'd like to discuss. The point is, and I'll go back to this, in June, we made a motion and voted on this. I can make more stats out. We had a survey done of the teachers. 69.1% wanted the masks optional.
That's entire staff, to be clear.
Right, and then, I'm sorry, entire staff, because it regards the entire staff of the school. So 69.1% wanted the mask optional. 9.2% wanted it indifferent. 21.7% wanted mask mandated. So 1/5. And in the report, there's 150 responses. So it was a pretty good size margin. I believe that probably reflects our entire community as much as it does our teachers and staff.
And I would agree, I would think, and as a board, it is our job to listen to all our constituents and listen to parents, teachers, friends, family. I mean, they come to us for us to make these decisions. I would agree with Jay. I would say of all the communication, which was higher than us reopening a year ago, I don't know if it was the same for you all, but it was a little more passionate, even more so, I think, as we've learned more. I agree, would probably be about 80-20. 80 appreciating us with the decision that we made in June and wanting us to not change anything as we go into the school year. Knowing that we do and will and can have the authority to make a decision and change things if we deem necessary at any given time. I just also wanna say one more thing. We're gonna make people mad tonight. People are gonna be upset with any decision that we made. There's gonna be people that are happy, there's gonna be people that are upset. I just want, as a community and everybody watching online, to show grace to all of us. Not just the board, but to your staff, the educators, the students. There are gonna be kids that are sent to school with a mask that don't want to, but their parents are making them. Make sure your students know to be nice to them, because that is what they do. I just wanna make that statement. I get emotional because I think we should all just do the right thing and be nice. And the decision isn't gonna be what everybody wants. I hate it that we have to even talk about it, but we do, because it's real. It's not a fake thing that we're dealing with. And everybody should just do what's right for their family. And I believe we should just stick with what we decided in June, knowing that we could change it if need be. And just, now I've said my piece. Thanks.
Any other board member want to say that? Yes. I told you I'd get to you, I just.
I appreciate it. I just didn't wanna sit here and not knowing how things go and then all of a sudden
Exactly.
past it.
We moved on.
I'm like, oh man, I wrote everything down for nothing. So in my original preparation for speaking tonight, I started off writing, guys, I'm an English teacher, I'm a nerd, I do this sort of thing. I started off writing a few pages about a video that had been popularly shared across social media where a doctor presented to an Indiana school board about the ineffectiveness of masks and, in fact, the hazards presented by masks. And I gotta be honest, when I watched that video, I was optimistic because here's a doctor, a man of medicine, presenting this information. And he kept saying to the school board, hey, I've got the information, I've got it here, I gave it to you on a flash drive, read it for yourself. I found a website that hosted all of that information and I read it myself. And it wasn't just the debate teacher in me, it wasn't just the master in education who had to study all sorts of statistics and analyze all sorts of studies in order to get that master's degree. It didn't take all that education to figure out quickly that that man was misrepresenting the data. I sent a letter to that effect. I sent it this morning. I'm not sure if Troy was able to distribute that to you all yet or not, but if you'd like to see a letter
Has
that.
anybody watched the video that he's talking about?
So, if you've watched that video,
Did I get that?
I would like for you to read my analysis of the research that he provided. All right. I gotta get off the soapbox. I'm real bad about that. My students will tell you. I know I've got limited time here. So instead of spending more time going over research today, I want to talk about our shared experiences and what we've learned. Because, guys, this is year 2, it's not year 1 anymore. We've been here. As Jay said, we had a successful school year last year, no? 1 case transmitted in the school building, right? That's pretty good. Yeah, some students and staff had to be quarantined, but those are relatively few cases. And they're sporadic enough that we didn't have to shut down. That's not the case for several schools in our area. We didn't have to shut down. We had a successful activities and athletics program last year. We had a few games that were canceled or postponed, but most of those were not due to Osage City. It was due to the other schools involved in those activities. We were doing a good job.
Do you have a list of those?
I do not. Last year we had
I
successful.
know we canceled one that we didn't go to a track meet or something for sure, but I mean, if we're gonna make statements, we probably have something to back it up with, is what I guess I'm saying.
Oh, you're
I
100%
understand the
right.
video.
I'm just speaking in general terms, I'm
Right.
sorry. You're not probably gonna like this next one either, because I don't have the specifics. This is again in general, when enough available substitutes and staff in the building to be able to conduct class as usual with relatively minor inconveniences. You know, there were times when teachers or Tony had to cover classes due to large amounts of people being out and limited availability of substitute teachers. What I'm saying is we learned a lot last year about how to do things right, about how to successfully operate a school in the midst of a pandemic. What we did worked. This year we face nearly the same obstacle. There are differences, sure, many things have changed, but most of it stays the same. The basics are the same. Why would we abandon a system that worked so well, not just in a laboratory, not some far off study, but in our school? What we did work, it worked here with our students, with our staff. Sure, we're all tired of it. I don't want to wear a mask. Nobody wants to wear a mask. We'd all like to shed our masks and forget the term social distancing. But just because we're tired of it doesn't mean we can quit. You don't try to fix what's not broken. You don't change your strategy in the middle of a game that you're winning. You don't make our school less safe and effective than it was last year. Sure, that's my time.
Thank you, Justin.
So we'll talk about that a little bit real quick. Last year, as everybody knows, we eliminated the masks at the end of the year. We had prom, we had graduation, we had everything without masks. Also, all this summer, I watch social media a little bit. The same people that are wanting masks mandated in schools right now are the same people that were running all over the country without them. So you can't have it both ways. It's one way or the other. In my opinion, we need to make sure we teach the kids more and more about that and not have teachers getting into it with each other and all the other stuff that happened towards the end of last year over pressures more or less from the mask, in my opinion. But we do have a doctor here that would like to speak. So Dr. Bob Harmon, if you'd like to get up and speak.
I'd be happy to. First of all, I would like to congratulate all of the board members and all the educators and give you my true appreciation for what you do for our kids, for your selfless service, for your running for office, and to do what you do. It's been many years ago when I came here, but my daughter Jill graduated from here and she's now a master's holder degree, a reading teacher north of Topeka, and reading opens the world up to you. And she graduated right here in the old school. Matt bought my practice, and he's tired. He went home tonight extracting wisdom teeth and taking care of dentistry, then I'm done. And they graduated from Osage City High School. And so congratulations to you, and I'm happy to pay the taxes for this fine school, and I'm very proud of it. I came in 1977 to practice dentistry here, and I was married to my ex-wife Dee, and we had little Jill, and it's been a wonderful time to be in this community. I love it. Now, I made my living with a mask for over 45 years. I know something about masks. There is only, and I'm gonna make some people upset, and the people that are wearing masks here, I'm not after you. It's America. You can wear 4 of them if you want to. I don't care. It's up to you. But I'm going to tell you the truth. There's only one mask that's on the market today that comes close to blocking any virus, and that's the N95 mask. And they make it N95 because it's only 95% effective. The nanovirus that we know, we're pretty sure we're getting close to know that this came out of China. We don't know whether it was released on purpose or whether it come out of the lab. And it's got a reservoir, an animal reservoir. Smallpox was eliminated because it was a human reservoir. These viruses that we're talking about now could have been manipulated. We don't know for sure. I can't say that for sure, but it's getting close. It's an animal reservoir. We are not going to eliminate viruses. I'm telling you, we're not going to get rid of them. They're going to be with us forever, just like they've been forever. When I was a kid in school, my mom put Vicks on my chest because I got a cold and I got the flu. You're gonna have flu and a cold this year in this school. And there's been times when we had to shut the school down for a few days for the janitors to clean things up and send them home. So that's gonna happen. But how come we didn't do this kind of stuff with SARS and influenza and colds? Kids get snifflies and stuff like that. Keep your kids home if they're sick. Send them home to the nurse if they're sick. Teach the kids, put signs up all over this place. Keep your hands out of your mouth, your eyes, and your nose. And wash your hands. The number of things that your mom taught. But the mask that you buy at the store and wear, and the ones that we wore in the dental office, do not stop a virus. They do not do it. Here's the thing that scares me about people that wear a mask. Now, if you're mowing your yard, or you're in your woodworking deal, or you're cutting teeth and you've got tooth dust that's coming out of the operatory, or I'm doing oral surgery and blood's going everywhere, you bet I'm gonna wear a mask. But those masks will stop those particles. Bacteria is bigger than a virus. They did a nano thing on this virus, which makes it very, very tiny, and it floats. And so but these masks, you're kidding yourself. It's not helping you. It's not stopping it. But good hygiene, good immune system, taking vitamin D, vitamin C, working out, eating right, sleeping right, the virus is not gonna get you. And if you get old you'll get old like me someday. And I've had 5 bypass heart surgery. And I'm fighting a little type 2 diabetes, so I've got some comorbidities. But I'm not afraid to die. And I'm not going to give up my life to be fear and let propaganda take over. Because they did it to us. And I don't want to get highly political, but I think there's some things that are on the horizon that's going to change our world in a way that we've never seen before. I study these things and I did it, and most of you know that I ran for the state representative position last election, but I didn't win. But I keep my ears to the ground and do a lot of politicking things and know some things, and not to be scared, but this is the place where we make changes. The school board is a very, very important thing. And this is where we educate our kids to be surgeons, to be good carpenters, to be good truck drivers, and the big equipment that they run out on the road there to teach these kids to do it. Your job is very, very important. Now, I'm going to say, I'm against putting masks on our kids. There are so many downsides to that because they want to look at the little faces. It's an emotional thing. It's kind of like putting the Star of David on them. You mask them up and you're trying to control them. And Jay is right. If we get a flu or something that comes out, we can stop that right away and do things. But to put these little kids, now I've got 2 granddaughters that are coming to school and they mask up.
Finish that story.
Well,
we're out of time.
My daughter-in-law
Where did they
Leslie
all
works
know?
here and she's probably gonna be really upset when I say that, but I'm just saying that please believe me, the masks don't help you with the virus. Breathe air. This whole building has to have, by OSHA standards, 19.2 liters of oxygen going to circulate. And if you wear a mask, you're not getting 19 liters of oxygen. You're hurting your brain, you're hurting your organs. And I'll say one more thing and I'll quit. I worked in a place that was filthy. The mouth is the dirtiest places to work. And when you put your mask on, especially the cloth mask, they're horrible. You wear them, they get saliva, they get wet. You're breathing in your own bacteria and you have a higher rate to get bacterial pneumonia from your own bacteria. And I don't care how much you think you clean your mouth. I worked there. And you were putting yourself in a heck of a risk by continuing to wear that mask a lot of times. Thank you. And I push it.
Is Danny Ish here? She is. Danny, if you'd like to speak, come on. Oh, there you are.
Hi,
How are you?
I'm good. I spoke with Troy this
I
morning.
know I had your name down, so.
Yes, I wasn't sure if you were able to distribute my email.
He did.
I couldn't get the video to work. That's why it wasn't, there was a video attached.
Okay, yeah, and actually you
That's,
referred to the
that's
video.
why it wasn't working for me. I just had to send it without the video,
Yeah.
the letter.
I think I spoke to majority except for Mr. Johnson and Kat. They spoke to your husband, and gave my opinion. I don't know, for all of you that don't know me, I was a 2006 graduate at Osage City High School. I graduated from the University of Kansas in 2013. I have a doctorate of pharmacy, and I also have a bachelor's in pharmaceutical sciences. I'm just here to basically be pro-choice. It should be up to the parents as to whether or not to mask their children. I'd be happy for somebody to share my email to the members if they'd like to read it. My daughter is somebody who is, she's 9 years old. She was in 3rd grade in elementary school last year. I don't know if somebody has my email to share the experiences, but long story short, she is a severe asthmatic. She has allergies, and she was terrified to come to school. She excels in school. She does a great job. She wants to be here. She was terrified to come to school because when she does have a flare, she has shortness of breath. She has a severe cough. And when that happens, she can't breathe. So unfortunately, we had to tell her you need to pull down your mask. She was terrified of getting in trouble, so she came to school terrified. I also cited a Wall Street Journal article. I'm not sure if you guys were able to open that. And then I cited the documentation in there. But just from personal experience, do you have it, Jay? That you can pull it up and read it? My email? Do you have my email?
I looked a
Oh,
couple
okay.
things up and.
But I'm just here to hopefully let you know that I am for our freedom, and I hope that you leave it up to the parents to decide whether or not to mask our children. So if there's any questions that you have for me regarding my email, I'd be happy to answer. Like I said, I cited the doctor's phone number. He did reference the sites that he referred to in his studies. So if you have any questions for me, I'd be happy to answer them.
Thank you.
Okay, thanks.
I also wanted, before I finish, to say that I did not want anybody to think that I was 100% against masks. I do agree with her. It is America, and if you want to send your kids to school with a mask, I'm all for that. Let the parents make the choice. Let people make the choice of how they feel. I want to make sure I made that point.
Okay. Is there anybody else that wants to speak? Any discussion amongst the board?
Just have 2 follow-up questions on the transportation side. Did you talk to anybody on the state level, like, so say the board decides not to require masks on transportation?
I did, I talked to.
Who's coming after us if they don't like that?
I talked to Blaine Finch, who is an attorney and also our representative from the eastern part of the county. He was the only one I got a hold of right away. And we've had long discussions about it. Matter of fact, he's kind of where told me before to find some of this information.
Mike, I did email KSD and ask what are the consequences if that's not upheld? And I didn't have any, they did not know, is the answer I got.
I was just gonna say that too, because that was the other thing I had written down that Blaine and I talked about. We went through this entire thing, and nowhere in the transportation order is there any kind of consequences. And the only people that can enforce that is the federal government, which means the United States Marshal would have to come down and take kids off buses. The local police department, sheriff's department will not enforce it. So even our own SRO is not gonna be allowed to enforce it because he's a sheriff's department officer. So that's kind of the issues there, so.
Did you have another question?
No, that's all I had.
One thing,
I was just gonna say, I assume that we're putting in place all the other protocols that we had in place, the cleaning, the social distancing as able, knowing that, okay, I just wanted to double check, we're using the thermometers.
We're using the thermometers as they come in the doors that flag our phones.
Yeah.
I don't know that we're gonna
Stand there.
we weren't gonna stand there like we did last year, cause I think that's.
I just
We
wanted
do
to
get the notifications.
reconfirm really, I knew that we probably were doing all of these things, I think still.
We are
I just wanted
gonna,
to reconfirm for the public that,
the cleaning with the spray fog, we were gonna back off on some of that. Because we heard contrary to that too,
okay,
some of that.
thank you.
Can we
with
just,
that mandate, with the mask mandate on a federal bus deal, we still put on there that they're highly recommended. It's just not mandated, I mean, you would still, we could still follow, would be consistent through the whole school is what it comes down to. So I would make the motion that we highly recommend the use of masks on all of our school buses for activities, bus routes, and everything else.
Recommend, not require.
Right, highly recommend, not require.
I second.
I have a question. So if you guys are gonna
Hang on,
highly recommend.
hang on, we're having a vote right now, so hang tight just a second. It's been first and seconded. All those in favor say aye.
I'll vote nay.
Motion carries 5-2, is that correct?
Okay, so the follow-up question I have on that, so here's the reason I put nay, is by us highly recommending it, now we're putting something on the administrators of what they need to expect from the kids.
No, we're not, because
No,
it's
it's the
not
same.
the administrators, it's recommended to the parents and the students. If they come to school and they don't have a mask on, don't say a word.
So we're not putting anything on the bus drivers or for sporting events, we're not putting additional,
We're following exactly what
The same
the
protocol.
county
across.
health department has said we should follow, and CDC and KDHE, which is highly recommend a mask, but not mandatory.
and then if we hear anything from the KSD, that you reached out to and we get other information.
If the county health
is
department
it-
come out and said we needed to put a mask mandate in, then we would have to call a special board. Well, first of all, they'd probably call, I guess we'd call a special board meeting, or we could actually make a motion to give them the authority that if the county health department put a mask mandate in,
It would apply to them.
that it would apply immediately. And we wanna make that kind of motion, we could make that and put that on everything, the bus, the school, everything. So if we'd like a set, would that help you guys as administrators? So I will make a motion then, that if we get information from the county health department that masks are mandated or need to be mandated, that we would give the administration the authority to go ahead and issue that mandate until we had another school board meeting, I guess. We're not gonna, that way, we don't have to have a special, it'd take 3 days to get a special board meeting, so
Right.
put that in order
It's an
immediately.
emergency, but 3 days later.
Right, we'll put it in effect immediately is what my motion would be. And that's for school and buses.
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Hey, Jay, just a question on the bus, does that apply to other school vehicles also, like if we take a van?
Yes, I'm sorry. When I say buses, I cut everything in there, so, yeah.
All transportation, okay.
I've got a question. I know most of I think most of the schools are sitting about where we are on, recommended, not mandated. However, there may be some schools that have some different mandates than we do. Do you have any direction for us on if
I would
we
say
have
if
an
they're coming
activity?
to our district, I mean, if we go to their district, we're gonna have to follow what they tell us. At our district, it's optional, so they can do whatever they want. I mean, that's the thing with this, is everybody still has a choice, that you can wear a mask if you want. We're not telling you don't wear a mask, we're just saying that it's not mandated.
So if
It's
we
not
go to a
required.
school that requires
Then
masks, then we have to require our kids to wear it or don't play
If
it.
their school says that we have to, yes.
I would say
Oh, then we have a
so.
choice.
I got an email today that Washburn Tech's gonna require in the buildings.
Okay, then our students should be wearing
They
them when they
will.
go.
In our coaches meeting the other day, that's kind of what I expressed to our coaches would most likely be.
I talked to several of the coaches
Handled
today, so, and they all, none of them wanted the mask, but they said if we go somewhere and they require them, then, yeah, we gotta look at that.
We have to be
So,
prepared with them.
I mean, we can't tell another district what to do. So, it's just like in our own county, how many schools are different here? Excuse me, I'm sorry, Dave.
We have to honor the policy.
Correct. I mean, I would not wanna never do anything against that, so.
Can we talk about or review quarantine? If a student or students have to quarantine and what that procedure would be this year, that could be different from last year.
Talking with Jackie and Lisa, I'm gonna need your help on this. We're gonna follow the same guidelines we used last year on quarantine?
We would add in the vaccinated students and staff for greater than 2 weeks would be exempt from school exclusion if they're not displaying any symptoms, if they come in contact with a positive case.
Which is basically, we're following the guidelines of the KSDE and the county nurse. So we're on the same level the whole way through.
So do we have so this was one of my questions that leads into, what will how are we planning to ensure that you are aware that our student is vaccinated? So therefore, when it comes to the time,
Yeah, that
student
is a
A is
catch-22,
vaccinated,
'cause
student B.
Can we ask that question
No, we
later?
cannot, we cannot ask that
May not
question.
that.
We cannot ask that
That would
question.
violate HIPAA.
Yes.
I assumed it was
It would
HIPAA,
violate
okay. I'm not suggesting we do,
Oh, okay.
I get it, I get HIPAA.
Yeah.
But I'm saying student A is vaccinated.
They could volunteer the information,
should
but we
we-
cannot require them
But
to
it's
say.
not- and you cannot ask. That is correct. It would violate
I
HIPAA.
get it.
Just making sure.
Yep, I get the HIPAA, that's why we can't ask, I get it. But student A is vaccinated, student B has been is test positive, has been in contact for more than 10 minutes within 3 feet or whatever with student A,
And either have a mask on.
and neither have a mask on, but the vaccination was what I read, was part of the exclusion if they aren't showing any symptoms. So in that case, when I as a parent say I'm contacted, student A's parent is contacted, that is when they will say, well, my student has been vaccinated.
I will have to have verification of that to exempt him
Okay.
from exclusion.
So Lisa, you can inform them of the quarantine procedure,
It's
and then it would
exclusion.
be on the parent
The
to
county
prove
health
that they were
department
vaccinated
has
to not be
the
quarantined.
only power to quarantine. We have the right as a school to exclude a student.
Oh, we're not calling it quarantine, gotcha.
Yes.
But when you when you're exclusion of a student, which we have the right to do based on everything, student A's parent can say, actually, here's a picture of their vaccination card,
Yes.
they aren't showing any symptoms, I want them to still go to school.
And I will keep them notified.
Thank you, that was one of my questions based
I
on.
will add one thing for everybody, the county health nurse did resign on Monday. We are in agreement with another person to take over, so I can't tell you the name right now, but it'll be announced on Monday. So we will not have a lapse in having a person, and somebody that everybody will be well respected, you all know who it is when that name gets announced.
So we also, reading the KDHE guidance that Lisa, that you had sent us, one of my other questions was, or suggestions in here was that holding vaccination clinics at our school, is that anything we've ever considered doing?
It's, the subject has been brought up. There are ample opportunities within our county to do so. We have Auburn Pharmacy that vaccinates.
Means to, this is, I'm thinking of students that have the, whose parents might not realize it, that maybe don't even realize that their children could be vaccinated, and ensuring that it's out there that they know where they can go. I just think it's our due diligence to ensure that,
I think they can go to the health nurse and
They
get
can
free
go to the health
vaccination, right?
department.
oh no, I know they can, just another public service announcement.
Yeah, it is.
Well, I was gonna ask too about testing. I've seen like Wichita and Emporia last spring, they actually were able to test on
Do
site.
the rapid
And you
test
could do the rapid
at
test
school.
and like,
So
do we have the
rapid
ability
test
to do that, or will we?
would just indicate that further testing is needed to a positive result or to occur. There is false positives with rapid testing, therefore you would have students and staff members missing school who indeed are actually negative once the PCR test is received. It's my understanding that COVID paydays are not going to occur this year, so you're going to have staff members using a lot of sick time if they would happen to have a false positive result on that test. Students will need to be in the classroom missing class time if it was a false positive, while they await the results of the PCR test.
That's very unfortunate, just my opinion.
Do you have anything else?
Yes,
He's
ma'am.
talking the difference between the antigen test and the PCR.
Okay, Lisa, what was that, I'm sorry?
What was that question?
What was the question, Dave?
I said you are referring to the difference between the antigen test and the,
I can't hear, I'm sorry, come on.
He's asking if you're referring to the difference between the antigen test and the other test.
PRT.
PRC.
Rapid test versus the PCR, yes, yes.
There's more false positives with a rapid test, which therefore, a false positive means that they tested positive, but they're not truly positive. So therefore, they would need a PCR test to confirm that positive test, which takes anywhere from 72 hours, up to 72 hours. So therefore, that teacher is absent using their PTO, which is unfortunate because then it comes back and they are truly negative. So we see that a lot, unfortunately, with the rapid testing.
So that's the same stuff we had last year. I mean, it's no different than what we had last year.
Exactly.
Right, but the teachers had COVID days, or their staff members had COVID days they could take. So,
We did not. What
Those
we
aren't
did-
available this year.
right, so I think that's something that we can also talk about.
We don't have COVID days this year.
Right.
Yeah, COVID
I mean,
days.
I think that's something that we can address down the road if we have to.
Well,
I think that's what we did last year. We didn't have it negotiated.
I was gonna say, it wasn't part of the negotiation.
Changed it in there.
Why does it have to be part of the negotiations? Like, I feel that if we're gonna potentially stick with the stance of masks being optional, that we are potentially putting our staff at risk by us making that decision, therefore we, in my opinion, owe them those COVID days, just in case something happens.
And we're still
out of their
talking
control.
taxpayer dollars, and there's people that have other jobs outside of here that go through the same thing and they don't have that benefit. So I get what you're saying, but I don't think I wanna just say that we're gonna do that without knowing where we're at. I mean, let's look at this in 30 days and see where we're at. It may be a moot point. I don't know, it may be, nobody really knows what's gonna happen.
Right, but if they don't use them, they don't use them. I mean,
If they're there, and I know they're there, I could make a reason why I need to go get tested, if I need a couple days off. I'm not saying that doesn't happen, or I'm not saying that would happen, but I'm not gonna say that it doesn't happen either. That's why you do that as you go. I mean, we negotiate contracts for a reason, and the contracts, if we went to them and said we wanted them to work extra, they're gonna go holy crazy nuts over it. So we gotta be fair, it's gotta be a give and take deal, so I think the negotiations that we did this year, I'm gonna say that we were, both parties were under the assumption that we weren't gonna worry about COVID days. If that becomes an issue, I think that's something we can revisit at any time. Am I correct in that?
You could.
So, I don't know,
I might add too on that antigen test, the rapid test, it's acceptable, having just left the country and came back in the United States. And it's an acceptable test to allow you to get return in the United States. So I feel like if the federal government allows them for that, have a pretty good opportunity here at Osage, USD 420, that it ought to be an acceptable test.
and that's
to
the
get started.
thing about the following CDC guidelines and all that, it's probably in there what we have to follow with that.
I think if you wade through it,
Because that's gonna-
it will be one of the tests.
Right, because the health department, basically, their stance is they're gonna follow the CDC and the KDHE guidelines, is that correct?
KDHE
Right.
more than CDC.
Which
yes.
gets a lot of information from CDC, and then the health department in Linden will make those decisions and issue stuff from there. This young lady's been waiting to talk for a little bit, so.
So you guys voted optional, okay? So you said that at any point in time, we can come back and we can reverse this and we can, do mandates and we can say, okay, now it's time to wear masks. So what are your standards for that? I mean, how many kids have to get sick? How many times do kids have to get quarantined where people have to take off of work, some with no pay? Before you guys come back together and say, okay, maybe we should wear masks.
The motion was, and the description we had, and the statement we made after that one, was we would follow what the Osage County Health Department recommended.
Okay, so that's the only standard, there is no, kids get quarantined 4 times.
That's the standard that we gave the administration, that they could do at any time. If they made an order, they can do that right then. If something else was to
But it all
happen,
comes back
we
down
can do
to
that
the
at any
health
school board
agency.
well, no, what I'm saying is that's what's, they can, if the administration gets an order from the health department says, you need to do this, they can do that. They don't have to contact any of us. We don't have to have a board meeting, nothing. If we have a board meeting and they bring it up that, hey, we got these numbers, we need to look at this, that discussion can start.
Okay, so what's the standards for that?
So, may I speak?
We had some chart last year, but go ahead, I can tell you this right
talking
now,
about
the
the
chart we had
threshold,
last year,
like
we
so
didn't
many
come close to
students
using
were out,
because it was way
Or
off.
if we had so many staff people that were out, if we had, is that
Right.
kind of what you're referring to, is
I can't hear you, what?
if, basically you're talking about a threshold, if we have, multiple students out, at what point,
At what point do you look at it?
Do you
and
look
say,
at it?
We need to start wearing masks?
I got you.
It was a percentage, and it was, the problem with one of the numbers that was on there, I'm talking about the gating thing, which we chose to move past those numbers some because in their gating numbers, the people that we have missing school on a daily average was more than what one of the gating numbers was. In an average day, we're missing 9% of our students. That first step was like 8%. So we chose to
Not due
move
to
those
COVID,
numbers.
just
Not due to
general.
COVID. That's just the numbers that were, just happened.
Go ahead, Lisa.
With any communicable disease, mandated reported to the county health department, and if our numbers are greater than 12, I believe it's 12 to 15%, I'll have to look. That is reportable to the county health department, and then they would instruct our district to put in place a mask mandate. If I believe it's 15%, I'll have to double check. If 15% of the absenteeism is due to positive COVID cases. And that also goes for chickenpox, if we have an outbreak of chickenpox that would.
I couldn't hear that, Lisa, I couldn't hear
So
you.
that's 12% of people, of kids actually with COVID, not like quarantine, so
Yes.
we can be up to 10%, and you can call me for the third time and say, he's got a quarantine because he was in contact with another kid, and his parents take him out for that amount of time to stay home with their quarantine kid that often until we hit that 12% mark.
Unless they're vaccinated.
Unless they're vaccinated.
Correct.
But under
And they're
12
not
isn't
having
able to.
symptoms.
Under 12 isn't able to until the end of December, so ours can still get quarantined over and over and over again.
And that is the health department's decision, not ours, yes.
We really need to put a window in this pillar.
Those students wear masks the whole time.
Both parties have to be masked for that exclusion to be exempt.
So mine can wear a mask,
Right now, we got.
and yours can get sick, and mine still has to quarantine.
Correct.
Same applied when everybody was wearing masks.
What, did you need clarification on, Jay?
I was wanting to know that percentage, but I think I finally heard it was at 12%.
It's between 12 and 15, I'll have to double check.
The big thing is, guys, remember this, nobody's telling you not to wear a mask. We're just telling you, don't tell the other people that don't have a mask on, they have to wear one. We
And
don't
that's
need
where
that
the
division,
problem
we need to
comes
make
in.
this where it's not dividing our community. If we went strictly off that, it's 5 to 1, 4 to 1, saying they don't want them.
I understand.
We want people to make sure that, I believe in my heart of hearts, that everybody in our school district and everybody in the state of Kansas is gonna do what's in the best interest. That means if they're sick, they're gonna stay home. If they have something going on, they're gonna wear a mask. If they fear it, put a mask on. I'm not telling you don't do that. I just don't want them to tell me that I have to wear one if I don't want to.
So if we go off of what you just said, get sick, stay home. He's sick, stay home. He comes back COVID positive, but he was still in school yesterday. So did those kids still get quarantined?
We have the authority to exclude students that have been in close contact within 6 feet for 10 minutes or longer. We then report to the health department, and the health department will provide further guidance on that.
Okay, so that didn't really answer. If he's COVID positive, but he was in school yesterday, wasn't feeling the best, maybe halfway through the day, or he was asymptomatic, do all the other kids around him, because they're not gonna play musical chairs. Yesterday he was, but today he wasn't. Does he know?
We need to move on with our meeting, so we're way past the 5 minutes on that, but we need to move on, we got a lot of things to go through tonight.
They would get quarantined.
Contact tracing measures.
So we're gonna move on to new
Are the
business.
quarantine protocols that we kind of know that we're gonna abide by, are they on our website?
They are not listed at the moment. And Lisa,
I'm sorry,
I thought they were on, didn't you send out the quarantine
But
protocols?
put them on our website, so all.
I sent
I
those,
thought I sent them.
Lisa did some work on those today and I sent them out really late.
I have a copy
Um,
Well, I think it makes sense to have it posted on our website.
we did have them last year, but they were not.
We approve. I'm just saying, I'm just kidding. I can't do
It
that.
was really easy to read and I really appreciate how you put that
Yeah.
together.
And those come directly, Mr. Hatton and I had a conference call with our local health department, Jackie Patterson, and this morning, and that basically was a summary from
I think that's
PDHE,
good.
and we clarified some questions.
Patty, to clarify for our minutes, if you got everybody this vote, I don't know the young
Yes, I
lady this vote, you got it, okay.
Lisa, was that 6 feet or 3 feet for quarantine?
Cause you said 6.
It's three,
Three.
KDHE's,
And I think in your notes, it still said 6, so we'll just need to
I'll kind
make
of
sure
post
that,
that
okay.
back to PDHE.
Alright,
Are we considering that the consensus of the board to allow her to post that?
I'm sorry,
Are you considering that the consensus of the board to allow her to post that?
on what's that?
This
What we
summary,
were just talking about.
the quarantine guidelines,
Yeah, I see.
exclusion guidelines.
Exclusion.
That she's gonna be out, yes, that's, do we need to make a motion for that?
I was gonna say, do we need to officially adopt those?
I assumed we were following because that's the county.
They're
health
pretty much
bill, so that's
guidelines
what we're
that,
doing.
they're
It's the
not our
county health bill.
guidelines, they're
Right,
KDHE.
So
We didn't develop
so
those on.
it's in that motion I made.
Agreed. I think we have a consensus. Does everybody agree?
Okay.
Yep, thank you.
Alright, next thing, time to talk about a budget.
Okay, so what I sent you guys, you have on your, it's the same thing I sent, and it's just a comparison between, and I gave you some of the similar papers that you had, you have some descriptions, and you have two different budgets, basically, or the parts of them. And one of them is revenue neutral at 28%. One of them is 30% LOB, which we talked about both of those, and I just, most of this is exactly the same. I don't know, they don't change much until you get to the second page, or the page that I'll describe here in a minute. But the first page is the open page, that's where we go in and, okay. The
That's
first-
the only extra one I got, so you don't have to share it with everybody.
Thank you.
First page is the enrollment estimates, and you have some other estimates like tech ed, hours, and different things like that, transportation, some things like that. The next page you'll see is the code 99, and if you look at the code 99 on the packet that has the 28% LOB, you'll notice on the far right-hand side that the mills for the LOB are exactly the same, 14.662. Okay,
Hold on, I'm still trying to find it.
that's,
On page 1 of code 99, it'd be actually your third
Oh,
page
down
right there.
here,
Yeah.
okay.
yes.
I was doing the same thing, I was looking
I'm-
at it.
Page one, but it's actually page 3.
I'm not-
Got it,
this is,
thank
this,
you.
this is kind of an overview of the whole thing, I'll just kind of look at the end.
Okay, stick to the
Okay.
notes.
On the back side of that is that same revenue neutral form that we would
Oh,
see.
on the
If
back
you-
side,
Yes,
yes, got it.
if you look at the revenue neutral, you'll see that same, on LOB, it says 14,662 on the far right-hand side. 20 mills, 5 for capital outlay, 14,662. And then on bond and interest, 9,138. If you go to the code 150 or the form 150, that's where you get your local option budget and your total general fund budget authority figured. You go through and it's got your at-risk weightings and your bilingual and your career tech ed and your estimated at-risk, which is free lunch. All of those are added up into there. And then you get down to the line 17 on that. I hope I'm not going too fast. Am I going fast? Line 17,
I'm just looking at both of them.
I was gonna say,
yeah, they're exactly the same up
I was
to
gonna
this.
say, this page is the same.
They're exactly the same up to this point. 6,043,147 on, and then you go to line 18. That is the estimated LOB general fund budget. Okay. So if you go now to page 155, or the form 155,
Because these next pages are the same.
they're part of that, yeah, they're
Okay.
tables.
Yep.
They're just tables,
Yep, I get it.
okay?
Every year I get smarter.
And then if you go down, you'll notice, and this was Jay's question too, you see the 31%. That was the maximum, back in April, we had to tell them a number that we could go all the way to if allowable.
And we elected as a board to keep it at 30, so, but
Yes.
we're not at that number, so.
Got it,
Yes.
that's was just what the allowance
That is not,
was.
we're not at that 31%.
Got it.
This, so on the 28% or the revenue neutral, you will see that the number is 1689 on line 7, 1689644. If you divide that into that number 6, computed LOB for 21-22, that's 28%, which is
So-
revenue neutral.
The 1689644 is
Yes.
the 28%. On the other page, it's at the 30%.
Yes.
So when we go back to this, the revenue neutral rate that we talked about at the last.
Was going to
meeting,
28.
we have to have a hearing for any one of these funds that we go in excess of that revenue neutral rate.
Which, sorry, is on the
Which
back
one we
side.
have to,
It's on page 2 of code 99.
right,
Are
one,
they-
we have no choice because they lowered the general
20.
to under 20 and it has to be 20 vote.
A vote.
You gotta vote on each one
Right.
individually. Correct, that's what I'm just saying. And so right now, the only one that we have to do is the general fund. Because that's what we're doing, we're setting this up for the budget, so we can print this, so we can have,
Yeah,
and
well,
there'll be more debate, I guess.
So, just to make sure I understand, on page 2 of code 99, which is the backside and the backside of the long sheets, which is what we spent some time on in the last meeting.
yes,
We have the so this is the
You look at the.
20 for general, capital outlay at 5, which we all discussed, takes the LOB in this form to it'll be revenue neutral if it equals last year's.
The only one in this particular one that you're looking at, which is the one that shows 28 on the top,
Yep,
the only one we have a revenue neutral rate hearing on is the general fund.
which is,
Because it
we have to have no
exceeded,
matter what.
it exceeded the 19.7, so we have to have that hearing, because we're gonna go to 20, we don't have a choice.
revenue neutral is on,
That's right, I got it right
I think it's,
here, 19.717.
It's 19717, I mean, it's on the sheet, right?
It's on this sheet.
Okay, so the difference is, between the two forms, is the LOB at 28% versus 30.
Right, and it would probably have to be updated to make that authorized percent would drop back from 31 to 30 when they actually did that.
So what would be the overall revenue neutral rate for everything? Is
I'm
it,
sorry, I didn't hear
For the
that.
mill.
is it above 48.8?
that's if you, say what again?
Like the revenue neutral rate for everything combined,
If you look at,
is it above?
if you look at the code 99, you can compare that on each one, Corey. If you go to the code 99 on each one of
So
these,
the main difference that I'm seeing is the difference in the LOB in the 30% is 16.049,
And
and
28.
at 28% it's 14.662.
that's correct.
Those were what I was, trying to define.
I
Right, we
just
could
wanna
be-
make sure that we are able to
I
get.
mean, I wanna also, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt. This is an estimated budget.
Yeah,
This is going to change, I can guarantee it will change, it's estimated.
I just wanna make sure that we're able to receive the the same amount of, at least the same amount of revenue in 2021-22 as we're getting in 2021. And the reason I say that is currently we're under, what is that number?
Both LOBs are above, if the actual number
We're getting,
is
just so you
more.
know, this budget will not include the $1.2 million we're gonna get in ESSER funds.
But it doesn't include the assessed evaluation from June until November 1st either.
Right,
So
because the
if
assessed
we-
valuation's gonna go up.
If we do not approve to allow to the revenue that exceeds our current revenue neutral rate, we won't get that excess money that comes in.
We shouldn't get that excess money. That's called a tax increase, and I'm tired of tax.
No,
Everybody
it's
should be
not,
tired of tax.
that's not necessarily it. It's not a tax
It
increase,
is
it's
too,
based
because
on the
if your
assessed
assessed
valuation
goes
from
up,
June until November. It's not, it doesn't come into effect until November 1st.
If your assessed
So if we
valuation
get
goes
houses
up-
that are built in town in that amount of time, that could essentially provide more money to our school, we're not able to collect that money if we don't at least,
Okay, so.
that's the only thing that I really.
If the assessed valuation changes.
Yeah.
Then that's gonna change the amount of money we get regardless of what we get.
We have to approve to go beyond what we're.
That is a tax increase that happens.
No,
That's
it's not
been
that,
happening
it's
forever.
based on the assessed tax
I
value
don't
of,
care, it's still an assessed valuation that's creating that tax increase. Are you telling me that if your valuation goes up, that you don't pay more taxes? Yeah, you pay
but as a
taxes.
school, if we
That's a
don't
tax
approve to
increase.
go above what we can collect revenue wise, we don't get that excess tax revenue.
We don't need that excess,
It goes to
we
the
just
county.
transferred $725,000 last month.
But that was from
Why would we
last year,
want
I'm talking about from June 21 to November 1st, 21.
Great, we got,
If it increases above what we are supposed to receive in our revenue neutral rate, we won't get it unless we
we shouldn't
approve that
get it.
increase.
We shouldn't get it. We don't need the money. I'm telling, I've been through this thing front and backwards. We could reduce our mills in our district by 2.758 mills, which is almost $200 a house on a $200,000 house. And
Say that one more
here's
time.
it.
Because
I don't agree with that.
It's,
I'd like to see your math on
a
that,
mill is
Jay.
$32,863.40 in our district.
Yes.
I might have to get some help on this. Is Mr. Trobert here? Is he around here? Could you help me with this just a little bit, make sure I get, a mill is $32,863.40. And if you don't know who Mr. Trobert is, I invited him here tonight. He's from the Kansas Fall Institute. He'll be the one that'll be here in town next Tuesday on the 17th to talk about school budgets. And I asked him to come to help me with this. The way I have figured this up, using the numbers that we've used, that was put in our budget, using the 9.138, the 5, and the 14.533, and changing the other one back to 20, that would make our mill rate 48.671. Right now, we're 51.429. That's a savings of 2.758 mils. A mill is $32,863.40, so 1%, you just drop some zeros, it's $32.86 basically, is that correct, Mr. Trotter? I may not have that exact because there is some numbers they get to take off.
It's not correct.
That's why I wanted to get his input. But I'm telling you, I don't care if it's $5. If I can save taxpayers 2.758 mils and not affect our budget, why are we not doing this? That's our very job.
I just wanna make sure that we don't drop and that we stay at least even for what we're getting this year. Because
So
if we
you want to
drop,
have an extra
we start a vicious
$725,000.
cycle of then having to go out to the public and say, oh, hey, we need some more money, which.
That's a very interesting concept. I'm glad you brought that up. We had $725,000 left over at the end of this year that we had to transfer, and you're telling me, we ain't gonna give them no money back, because by God, we'd have to go ask for it again. I think that's a very interesting concept, that we should have to go ask for it if we need it. Right now, we are obviously do not need the money. We got $3 million in reserves. How much do we need in reserves?
So can we use that money for anything?
Depending on how we transfer it. I didn't transfer the money, we gave the superintendent all the rights to transfer it however he wanted to, so he locked that money down where it's transferred. I did it, he
I
didn't.
get you
Only
there.
put
I
them
do.
into certain accounts, and if we wanna put this into
You
something
can
that
put
we're
every
all on the
penny of
same
that.
page on, because sometimes you will start talking and you just go, so if I can have a second to put it into perspective. Just how my
I do
brain
get
works.
fired up, I'm sorry.
I know. So if I put it into perspective for my own, yeah, I'm a homeowner, so let's say, it's $100,000, that's my property value, right? So the assessed is the 0.115. So for each,
Excuse us.
yeah, so for each mill that we would potentially decrease from 30, it's actually $11.50 for every 100,000 you have. So that is not quite $1 a month that we would be decreasing. So if we take it, 2 mills, right? So that'd be $2 a month that we're asking from the community to maintain what we have, to be prepared for whatever's coming. And when I put it into that perspective for myself, I'm very comfortable keeping it at the 30 mil.
And that 2 mil decrease would cost us roughly $65,000.
Not really, cause we got,
Because
and we
one
just,
mil-
we verified
One mil
this
of
earlier.
drop is 32,863.
If you remember, I just asked this question earlier in this meeting. We have $350,000 basically coming in from out of district students that aren't paying part of this LOB. This is our chance to show them with this $350,000, we don't need all this LOB. I mean, 350 versus 60, I'll take the 350 and drop the 60.
I'm just saying that we're starting on a slippery slope, that if we take in less revenue for 21-22 than we're currently getting, then it could become, it could create a bigger
I think at the
problem.
28% we're actually, the way this is shown, which I might be wrong, at 28%, it looks like dollar for dollar, it is higher, even at than what we accrued actual last year.
It's gonna be higher because of the assessed valuation.
Right, I mean, so Corey, your concern
They're
is,
not
are
gonna
we
go
getting the money we
backwards.
got last year, and at a lower rate it appears we are.
That's my concern, because I wanna make sure
I just enjoy
that
it.
we're at least getting that. If we go under, I'm not gonna support that. If we go over,
We're not gonna collect less money. And on
I'm
top
good
of
with that. I'm good
We
with
got the
that.
$1.2 million we keep forgetting is coming. So.
But we can't use that money in any way that we want to, Jay.
Just
We can only use it in a certain.
Think about this for a second. Last year, we got 400 and some thousand. We used that money on stuff that was in our budget. Either that or we wasted $400,000, which dropped our budget $400,000, which allowed us to transfer $725,000. If we use that same scenario, now we get $1.2 million, that's gonna drop our budget $1.2 million. At the end of the year, we're gonna have all that money transferred. Why
I don't necessarily
we could
think it's
transfer
as
that
easy as
into
you're
low-
saying.
we could
I
transfer that
don't
into-
completely disagree with you, but I don't know if it's that easy.
I agree, I mean, there is a budget, but it's doing what's right for everybody. And I think we're overtaxed like crazy, and we need to fix it, and we have a chance to fix it right here. If nobody wants to do that, that's their choice, but somebody will answer for it, because it's gonna show up this year by all means, because the county's not raising taxes. So the only people that's gonna raise taxes are gonna be your school districts or your townships. So everybody, the old adage of hiding behind the county did it, the county did it, that's not gonna happen. So everybody's gonna own their responsibility for raising taxes. We don't need to raise taxes. We can do just the opposite and still not lose any services that we offer and still grow. That's my point. This isn't even figuring in that other money, because that money is gonna go into something that's in our budget. That's my point.
Are we having to decide?
I don't want us to be under.
Are we having to decide this tonight?
Just
Like
on which
which
budget we
direction
go.
that we go to, or
Reason
or
I-
is
I just need to I have to publish a budget.
So you're saying assessments aren't going up at the county level?
I'm saying assessments, common sense tells you that, look at what houses are bringing.
Okay, but
Assessments are
assessments
gonna
go
go
up,
through the roof.
taxes go up, don't they?
Exactly, so what's gonna happen is, here's everybody's ideas, this year, they wanna make these rates as high as they possibly can. Because next year, if you exceed the revenue neutral rate, you have to send a letter to everybody in your school district that you're raising their taxes. This year, they didn't have to do that. That's why this is all up, that they wanna raise all these, it's not because we need the money. Troy, what are we gonna do with the extra money?
for next year, we could probably get by without. My concern would be like what Corey's saying is down the road. When I started this job, Jay, my first year I had to cut staff. I definitely never wanna have to get into that
We'll
position.
never be in that position again.
That's
on
my,
Kids
that
Go.
was, I'm telling you, that was the hardest year of my life.
You need to be here for some of that when
But-
we didn't have money and we didn't know what.
But Dave, I can also say
I
that
also
if
can
we
say
need the
we had
money,
an air conditioning system that surprised us that used up, better part of $250 million when it happened too. So that's what the budget is designed for.
no, it's not, that's capital outlay.
Yes, but the LOB has contributed to part of that as well.
Which is everybody in this room that's a taxpayer, me included, you included, everybody in this room pays a part of that. The point is, we don't need the money, there's plenty of money in all these funds. At what point in time do we need more reserves? We have over 30% in reserves, if you figure our budget's $8.8 million, we got $3 million in reserves. Now, is it all readily available? No, because they put it where you can't get it. But you can put it all in or in contingency reserve, and it could be used for anything.
And when we didn't have the ESSER funds, we needed it. We got lucky with the ESSER funds, so.
We got $1.2 million coming this year. We need to figure out how to
We can
control
spend
our
it.
spending and bring stuff to the board to make sure we get approved that way and start spending money wastefully maybe. And then we can figure that out. I mean, there's numbers out there that will tell you, there's people that will ask you what the cost per student is at Osage schools. It will scare you to death. It's $16,000 or in that neighborhood. Is Mr. Trauber still in here?
Yes.
That number that's per student, do you remember what that number was?
For the, for the 2020 year, it was 14,210, and then it's, for this year, I'm sorry, let me, just a second. Okay. Turned off my internet.
Troy, do you need a motion one way or the other?
So 15,000.
Well, I don't know which
Yeah.
I don't know which
If we.
budget
if
to
we-
publish.
Jay, while I'm waiting for my internet to boot up here, you asked the question about the savings to a house.
Right.
The way to do the math is, let's say it's $100,000 house.
Okay.
It gets assessed at 11.5%. So you've got assessed value of 11,500.
Okay.
That's 11.5 thousands times the number of mill rates. So if it's 2.75, that's gonna save $32 per $100,000 of appraised value.
And Osage, unfortunately, our appraised values are way up in one sense, but it's not good in another.
So in this situation, we're talking about 1.387 mils.
The difference between one and
With
two.
two budgets, right? Which is $15.95 on
On which one?
$100,000.
The 50.187 on 30% LOB versus the 48.8 on the 28% LOB. Mike, is that what you're referring to? I just wanna make sure. So we're talking two,
Yeah,
what did
the
you say?
50.187 compared to the 48.
Troy, what is our total budget,
Well, you'd have
or
to,
proposed budget? What is
You'd
it,
have
what
to
is it
add-
projected at right now?
you'd add for each one of those, you'd add your supplemental and your general on the first two lines.
So 7.8 on code 99.1 and,
Now, remember, it's all estimated,
right,
okay? But those, your LOB and your general fund is your budget, your total budget.
so on the bond and interest, that is for the bond that we got for the football field, that we're sitting there with $780,000.
The bond and interest is there to pay our bond payments off for the last bond issue that we did, which was the elementary revision in the library, the storm shelter and the football field and track.
And we only need it to be at 5 because it goes down every year.
You have to have enough money to pay that.
It's gone up $300,000 in the last 4 years. 5 years. In 17, we had 417,000, now we're up to 730,000. And here's the nice thing about that, when we need a new bond, you just sell it as it won't raise your taxes. In essence, it does, because you're not gonna lower those bonds. I mean, the right way to do it is you tell them what you're gonna use it for, and the people of the community will support it.
Well, we'll
That's
get
how
there.
we got that done.
We'll get there, yeah.
And that's how that got done.
Exactly. So, I mean, I think we just need to be truthful in what we're doing on our taxes. That's all I'm asking for, is we're sitting here.
So Troy just needs to know if
building funds for
it's
no reason.
28, if we want to approve 28 or 30%, right? That's what we need
To
to know when we
publish.
publish.
Yes.
Whether we do the revenue, yeah.
So if you approve next time at the budget hearing, a budget different than what you publish, what has to be done?
How much did you say the budget was?
It was,
I had these two numbers, 7.8 on one and 7.9 on the other.
Well,
If I'm using what he told me, general.
11.6 million.
How much?
This year's budget was 11.6 million.
So where did that money come from?
well,
Last year's, I mean, this is from the
if you look at the,
district's budget report.
if you look at the expenditures.
The total spent the prior year was 9.8 million. So to
Wow,
answer your
so-
question, the amount budgeted this year was $16,721 per student.
So when I look at this then, it shows our actual expenditures for 2020-21 were $9,693,501. And our 2021-22 proposed budget on one of them is $15,022,142. Nope, take that change, we'll change that because less transfers. So net expenditures $12,712,386. So a $3 million increase there. The other one would be $96,93,501, and we're proposed budget of $12,589,000, so just shy of $3 million. That's the increase that we're gonna
These
have in our
might be
budget.
your expenditures, but like, we give ourselves the authority to spend all of our capital outlay. We don't intend to spend all of our capital outlay.
But it's in the budget, so you have the authority to.
Yes.
But you can't compare actuals from last year to budget authority for this year. I mean, you're comparing 294,000 in capital outlay with actual.
Well, the reason I'm doing that, Mike, is
1.1
because last year it was appointed at 11.9 million. So that's how I'm coming up with, it's increasing 800,000. That still doesn't include the $1.2 million that I get, that's not gonna be funded by the taxpayers of the community, except it is, we're gonna pay those taxes somewhere else, and it's gonna come back. I mean, there isn't anything we're gonna get for free. The taxpayers are gonna pay for every penny of it somewhere.
But the amount of 21 tax to be levied is actually $1.5 million. It's actually less than it was in 2021.
What line are you on, Corey?
The very bottom.
Or that answers your that's because of
Thank
the
you.
assessment. Are you talking, which one now?
I'm looking at the 30%. The total USD taxes levied in 2021 was $1.6 million. Our proposed for 2021-22 is $1.5 million. We're actually lowering
Must be
it
on the wrong page.
$100,000.
Page 1, code 99.
$99. I mean, you're correct that the expenditures went up, but the actual tax to be levied on those has gone down $100,000.
Well, and this one's also taking it down to 48.8, so that's reducing it down 2.87 mils, so that's the difference in those two numbers.
And then on
But
the.
my point is that the 50.17 is actually 1.3 mils or lower than it was for 2021.
So we are lowering the
So
mills
we
at
are
30%.
lowering it at 30%. We're just not lowering it as much with the 28%.
We're still increasing the revenue, and
I
that's
just wanna
the
make,
point
I just
is-
wanna make all that
I
information
just want
clear.
us to have, I don't want us to lose any revenue, don't get me wrong. I think we could, I think it's obvious, we had $725,000 we transferred, so I think it's obvious we could lose some money. It's not about that, we need to be financially responsible, and we gotta make sure we're okay. Not only have these guys accountable for what they do, but also what we do.
I get that, but we're not gonna have ESSER funds forever.
Exactly.
We're not gonna have ESSER funds forever.
I don't disagree, but when you
And so if we
need,
lower the mill levy now and we continue to lower the mill levy, it's gonna come back and bite us in a few years.
I got no problem with somebody that wants to go out and tell everybody you had an opportunity to lower their taxes and you chose not to. That's not a statement I'm making. We have the opportunity to lower them. We should take advantage
We're
of it.
playing with house money right now for this year.
We're playing
We're not
with
gonna have that
taxpayer.
house money in
We're playing with
22,
taxpayer
23.
money, that money that we don't need. If we just look at the LOB money that he's talking about right now, we are more than getting it back in the out-of-district funds.
We use LOB for certified salary.
Okay, we're talking about $45,000,
I know.
right? I just wanna make sure.
But if we don't get that now, we're not gonna get it in the following year.
later.
Cause we're,
I'm not worried about that.
One more point I don't want you guys to forget is we're also losing out on state aid.
Yep.
So when we decrease the mill, we're now losing out on money owed to us from the state, and it will go to some other district.
Who pays that money into the state? Each one of us. It's our money. Either, I don't care how they cut it, they're still taking our tax dollars, do what they want with it. And if we have the opportunity to lower taxes, we should do that.
Some other district when it's pushed out.
So I still didn't get an answer to my question on what happens if you approve a budget next month that's different than what we published.
I believe, Mike, and I'm not 100%, I'd have to double check, but I think if the budget goes down, then you may not have to. I'd have to double check on that. This is also different this year that we're not squared away. That's a question that I don't know that I have the answer to right now.
My other question on the 5 mills, because we all agreed last time to lower the capital outlay to 5 mills. How much is that gonna generate next year? How much is that 5?
I think that's in here too.
That's on page 2 of
If you go to
990.
page, one.
164, 317?
Page Form 239, the last page. Estimated,
Here's the detail.
So 108, 449.
yeah, I believe that's right. We get 66% state aid.
Which last year, because the county reduced the property tax rate, the school raised the capital outlay from 5 to 6, so we just talked about lowering it back to 5.
But we're gonna get 164 next budget for capital outlay. How much were you want to spend over the next year?
Well, the last 300 some thousand.
But some of that there was 100 and some thousand,
Now-
there was gonna be playground equipment, there was gonna be ESSER funds.
But I mean, the track alone was how much?
I don't know if I can
We
do that or
can't
not.
take that out of ESSER funds.
I think you'd have it, I don't think I could get that approved.
So we're not sure what ESSER funds are gonna be good for.
But more than 100.
Not 100%. We don't know.
Point exactly.
I think the other thing is that
Yes, sir.
1.2 million that we're gonna get from ESSER is gonna be a lot more difficult to dispense. Because they're putting a lot more guidelines into it and a lot more specifications on
If
what
we
you can
don't
use it.
spend it, are we gonna give it back? We'll find a way to spend it.
Well, I don't disagree with you there, but we're not gonna have that for very long.
I agree. But I'm going back to last year, we had 400,000, we transferred 725. That means without it, we would have transferred $325,000. The year before we made transfers. Every year we have all this money to transfer. We have and I agree with what Dave was saying. At one time, this school district didn't have anything in reserves. They got plenty in reserves. And now it's time to pay back the people that gave them reserves, which is everybody in this room. That's my whole statement on this is, let's help the taxpayer, and if we need it back, I have no problem going and saying, hey, we lowered your taxes, we need a little bit of help now. And I guarantee you, the people of this community, just like everything else, they will help us.
But we are at 30%, we're lowered at
taxes.
1.3 mils.
Excuse me?
The taxes are being reduced. The
At
mills-
30%, then.
At 30%. it's
Even at
happening anyway.
30%, it's a lower.
We're
it's
not
a-
gutting it, but we're incrementally stepping down in our.
We're not gutting it even going down 2.7 mils.
But it's.
We're talking 1
twice.
mil. Over what, I'm looking at
If we
the
drop it
facts.
2.75 mils, we're losing $90,000. That's $90,000 that we will not even sniff at the next year. I'm fine with lowering it at a slow rate.
I don't think we'll only get it, I think we'll get a lot more because the assessed valuation is gonna go up.
That's not carved in stone.
It's not.
I don't know whether you were on the board a few years ago when we didn't have the
Would
authority
you
to
make-
spend our budget.
Would
Why
you make
didn't
a
we have
commitment
that?
right now that if
But if we
If the
lower the
assessed
mill rate,
valuations
we're
in
not
the
even gonna
district
be
went
able
up.
to get any of that revenue if if the valuations go up.
Yes, you would, because the numbers are not.
No, we don't. We
What
have
I'm
that,
saying
that
is-
sets our max for what we can receive the
Exactly,
revenue.
because that's all we
Anything
should
above and
receive.
beyond that, we don't get, it goes back to the county. We don't have the budget authority to get.
I agree, that's where it should go.
I mean, my viewpoint
It
is
should
I think
not
we need to do
be-
the 30%.
It should not
That's-
be put
that's-
in bank
that's my
accounts.
viewpoint.
How much,
I
Mr.
think we
Tarbert,
need to do what's best for the school.
how much money does the schools
need
in
a
the state
motion?
of Kansas have in reserves approximately?
Troy, you need a motion to.
If you're talking about forgetting capital and debt, they started this past school year with 998 million.
Troy, do we need a motion for that, for the 30% LOB?
Yes.
Yeah, I need a motion to approve a budget.
Okay.
I'll make a motion, we approve budget with the 28% LOB rate, which is the revenue neutral rate. Okay, there's no second.
I'll make a motion to approve the budget with a 30% LOB.
Second?
Aye.
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 No. Okay. Revenue neutral rate hearing will be the night of September 8th at 7 p.m. I would suggest all taxpayers that would like to come and talk, be here. That is your night to have your opinion. This budget is not set in stone, you can change it, so.
Is that your motion, Jay, to hold it at that time? Is that a motion to hold it at that time?
Yes.
Second, aye.
Aye.
Alright.
Aye.
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 Aye. Okay.
Did it 7?
September 8th at 7, right?
September.
September 8th at
Okay.
7 p.m.
Thank you.
And the budget hearing will immediate follow. And I've never had a revenue neutral hearing, so do we know what we have to do? We have to explain what we're raising taxes on as well. Mr. Trobert, are you here? You helped write this law.
Probably go through kind of what we just did.
At a revenue neutral hearing rate, what do we discuss?
You have to explain what the revenue neutral rate is on each fund, how much you wanna raise it, and what percentage that is. So, you know, if you're raising it, make the math easy, if it was 10 mils and you raise it to 11, you raise property tax, 10%.
But if we're lowering it, we don't necessarily have to explain that.
No, you're not.
Right, the only funds we're gonna have to talk about on the one we just approved, so everybody knows, on the revenue neutral hearing. The general fund, which is set by state, so there's really, I mean, that's just explain what we do. The other one, we will have to.
General and LOB, right?
Yeah, I'm
Be
going
the
down.
general and the LOB.
The LOB would be the other one because it's going up. How many mils is that? 1.4, 1.5? Also,
Is revenue neutral equal last
would
year?
you,
I thought it was different. I thought revenue
Patty, we
neutral
need
was
to
different.
change that deal on the budget before we have
Revenue
that
neutral.
hearing. That one number needs to change from 31 to 30.
Pass that around to Kelly.
The budget,
That's just what your authority to tax is, right?
right, because we set that at 30 and on these papers
Well,
it's showing 31.
It's
so we need to
extremely
reset that.
complicated.
It
I'll
automatically
just put it
puts
that
that
way.
31 in, the line
No matter how you
below it
slice
must be the 30%.
Okay.
It's already in there.
What'd you say?
Can you have Patty make a copy, copies of this during our, okay. Thank you,
Okay.
if you can make copies of that.
Did that make sense then? So the budget, the revenue neutral funds we have to have the hearing on are the general fund, which is kind of messed up because the state requires us to be at 20
Right.
mils. So that's a no-brainer. The LOB, we will have the revenue neutral hearing on because it'll be changing from 14.662 to 16 what?
049.
Yes.
And so my question was, is the revenue neutral rate equal last year's?
Revenue neutral rate means that you get the same tax dollars you had from the previous year.
So I just don't know what that number is, so I don't think it's really going from 14,662 to 16,049, because 14,662 was just last year's.
I believe that's how it's gonna be if we approve that budget, it will go to 16.
I'm not saying, but what is the revenue neutral rate? I don't
The
believe,
14.6.
that was last year.
It's based on the taxes levied. So it's based on the 1,581,664. That's why it's less this year, because last year it was 1,606,205.
Okay,
To
yeah,
get the same money we had last year, that revenue neutral rate would be less than it was.
got it, thank you.
To get, in other words, by raising it, you're gonna collect, you're gonna get an increase in tax, and that's what you got.
Got it, okay, thank you.
So that's on 9A to 7, okay. Three Lakes report.
Three Lakes report, new Monday, we approved the Barney and Associates for audit services. Approved the quantum contract for the student 2021-22. Approved the 2021-2022 budget. And we received an indicator 13 compliance letter that all districts were compliant with IEPs this year. That's a good thing. That's all I've got.
Okay. Recreation report.
Pool, last day that the pool will be open is Sunday, August 15th. Have had a really good summer season with the pool. Not necessarily attendance wise, but a lot of people bought food at the concession stand, that's for sure.
Oh my God.
They were hungry, huh?
They,
Might be from
so
Brady.
much so that we've set a all-time record of the amount of money that we've gotten from the concession stand.
Brady was there a lot.
I know. A lot of disposable income, I guess, but. Fall programs, got forms out for youth soccer, flag football, and then cheer camp. We did our youth tackle football equipment checkout last Wednesday. There's 19 third and fourth graders out. There's 4 third graders and 15 fourth graders. There are currently 13 fifth and sixth graders, 0 fifth graders, and all 13 sixth graders. So
Did they not get the letter?
we'll see. We have back to school nights Thursday. Those numbers tend to change a little bit every year around this time.
Were there fourth graders last year?
There were a few. There were about 3 kids, and
So it was small.
They are not choosing to play, but we'll see how it goes. But at least they have enough for
Administrative.
Good, I'm happy for the sixth graders that they have.
And then Jordan Tice is the coach for the 3rd and 4th grade team, and Mitch Foote is the coach for the 5th and 6th grade team. So, but that's it for rec stuff.
Administrative reports, Tony.
Okay, just got a few items here. First of all, I didn't have numbers on summer school last year, or last meeting. So we did have 30 students, actually 30 credits. Some students got more than 1 credit. 15 science credits, 4 social studies, 3 English, and 8 math. So I'd call that a successful 3 weeks of students going to summer school. Preliminary numbers for enrollment. I have 232 students in the high school. It's up about 20, but that's only because we graduated class of 48, bringing in a freshman class of 67. So that's kind of just the number there. You asked me with some wrestling information in August, so I brought some projected costs that it would cost for us to start that program. So competition mats range anywhere from $7,200 to $9,500. $7,200 for a 36 by 36 mat, or a $9,500 42 by 42 mat. There are some lighter weight ones, 1 inch and 5/8, and you can get those in sections, not the whole mat, but they're about $1,100 for 1 6-foot section. or $1,200 for a 42-inch 6-foot section. So you can get those in different lengths. So head coach would be at the minimum $4,100. We base the percentage off of base. Depending on where the coach is on the pay scale is what their percentage would, but head coach would be a minimum of $4,100, assistant coach about $2,800. Entry fees, there's about 13 events during the year. That's about $150 per entry fee, and that's sometimes it's more depending if there's junior high offered and girls. So it's about another $100 for junior high or $100 for a girls event. Sometimes the boys and girls are included in one event, but it just depends on the meet that you go to. So that would be about $1,950 at a minimum of entry fees. Additional uniforms, singlets are about $34.50 each, and then $35 for the headgear, the earpiece things that they wear. So that's hard to understand how many additional uniforms we'd need. Singlets are kind of not like basketball uniforms. One size fits 3 sized people. You really got to have the right size. Putting a little one on a big guy is not a good idea. And so,
Thank you.
or vice versa. So, so you really got to have the right size of singlets, headgear as well. So I don't know what that.
Are those, I'm assuming we could use more than 1 year?
Yes.
They're
So
not
last year, we
disposable.
did have to buy some more, so I have some, because during COVID, they were making the kids change uniforms after every match. So we did buy some more, I have some,
In red.
red and white, so I do have some of
And
those.
do we have any headgear, or is that?
A few, but I don't know, the guys can talk more about that, whether they keep those or turn those in, or they provide their own. I don't really remember too much about. Usually buy your own,
On the headgear.
okay. And
Do they
so,
buy their own singlets, or we provide?
what's that?
No, we provide
We
those.
have to
Like a
provide
uniform.
uniforms. So the headgear sometimes
Kinda like a shoe.
kids get for themselves, but we do provide them too.
Helmets for kids on the football field, you need to provide headgear for wrestlers.
Absolutely. Some just choose to buy their own because they get better
Kinda like baseball
quality
helmet.
or a different look
Sounds like
or
baseball,
something
yeah.
like that, but. And then it does add 13 more events to me. It'd be 5 of those are on weekdays, and that'd be additional 8 more weekends. The 8 of those tournaments are on Saturdays, and they're usually full days. Otherwise, it's 5 and then 5 nights during the week. So a minimum $1,600 or $16,000. That's just counting mats and coaching and entry fees. Obviously, it's gonna be more than that, but that is gonna be at the bottom.
So that would be 16, a minimum 16, but that includes the mats that, so
That'd be
then
the
it's
first-
subsequent.
That's one competition mat,
That would be
One
the first year expense.
That you might want to
Minimum.
buy the.
yeah,
The
minimum.
the other thing I'm not sure we
So they might-
really know, I mean, we kind of would be thinking about, where do we do it? And I don't know if the rec building's even available for something like that or not, so.
Well, there's gonna be a lot of logistics as far as where to practice, holding a meet, junior high, no junior high. You know, there's just gonna be a lot of things that's gonna play into that.
How much do we pay to Burlingame right now when we go, when using their facilities now?
Nothing.
And then, did you have the conversation with the Burlingame athletic director yet?
Have not.
I just was curious if you.
No, but we just started with cost that was asked, and so I just went out and got minimum costs and
What is your
goes up
thought
from
about
there.
if we had a meet, is that a revenue neutral?
so usually like when I have a golf meet or a track meets or whatever, that does offset
I was just curious if
the
it
entry
offset.
fees. Typically it doesn't, but it comes close.
I was just curious
Yep.
how much.
So,
I don't know how much of revenue, but usually it tries to offset some of your other meets that you go to.
Just so we're comparing apples to apples, like baseball, football, volleyball, band, what's it cost for each one of those per year?
What's it cost for what?
Like
Football's by far the most
I mean, if we're
expensive.
figuring out cost, what's it cost to have baseball, football, volleyball, band,
Every sport is
whatever
different.
clubs, I mean,
Every sport is
Football.
different.
Football would be your most.
I mean, is 16,000, like, is it way above these other ones, is it?
Well, it's
Oh,
not more than
unbelievable.
cross-country or track. Well, no.
But don't say
I'm gonna
track.
take track. Taking track.
Wait, what
out.
about that pole vault pit we just talked
Yeah,
about?
forget about that I said that. I'm gonna nix that.
Remember, your competition pass, that's a one-time purchase.
Correct.
Don't go cheap, without injuries.
Yeah.
Right, right.
What was the cost last year in comparison when we had to go up with
We don't pay
Burlingame?
anything. Nothing.
We paid for transportation.
We pay for transportation.
And what uniforms would be our.
And we bought our own uniforms.
And you have a ballpark on that?
I think we spent about $350 on uniforms last year. I
So
bought a
the
few headgears, but not a lot, and that's why I asked the guys whether they used them or not.
I mean, the biggest cost right there is, it's all the mat. So once you buy the first
It's all the
mat,
mat.
then you're down
And the
to
coaches.
$7,000-8,000 a year.
Minimum.
Well, back up, I mean, is it one mat, is it that you've talked
Just get ready
about?
to ask that
Is
too, how
that
many mats?
enough just to get started?
I know a lot of schools, when they hold a meet, they
I don't
borrow mats from area schools.
I think you'd have to have at least two to start the program.
We have none currently, right?
Correct.
I think, I don't think you could start a program with one mat.
I wouldn't think so.
The co-op agreement that we have, have we completed that 2-year agreement? Or are we still?
That is not to be renewed until, I think
22,
it's the end of this school year. You have to do it like 6 months in advance.
So we would be looking at this for 22-23.
Correct.
Yeah.
We'd have to decide by January, because in January, you either gotta renew that.
Well, and I know just.
Well, and I'm
with
looking for
shipping-
meets then.
Shipping in general right now, everything's 3 to 4 weeks
If you're
backed up.
There's a big foam shortage right now too.
Right, but knowing that we have this
This
relationship
would not
with
happen until
Burlingame,
next year anyway, right?
knowing that we already have this relationship, I'm assuming there could be some at the beginning, oh wait, we haven't got our mat yet. Can we use your mat?
Well, and I'm thinking if we
Understanding,
approve,
perhaps.
if this gets approved, we can.
Well, we're still assuming we're having a co-op, right? That's the goal.
If they choose to come.
If they choose to come here, we will accept them.
And we don't know if that has not been discussed?
That has not.
Okay.
For a program like this, where would the funds come from?
General or LOB,
Where do the funds come for all the other programs?
same.
So we would,
It seems,
There you go.
oh, I love that.
If we raise our LOB, that's the reason right there.
Did you not get my
For
neutral
those who
rate?
want to attend the
The
public.
dollars you use for the coaches would have to be negotiated in.
Yes. We don't have, we typically
We do
don't
not have a wrestling index right now. I
index.
just went off what we normally pay our head coaches for high school and assistant coaches.
And mats can be funded from capital outlay,
Yeah. Mats could be.
so that would eliminate that.
That's a big, yeah. If we wanted clean mats, could we use ESSER 3 funds?
How about that, Patty?
No, I don't think.
I tried.
I'm gonna can I throw a motion
And
out?
shorts.
Throw a motion out, Corey.
I wanna make a motion that we start an USD 420 high school or wrestling program in 2022, 2023. And extend the offer to Burlingame in continuing the co-op wrestling through Osage City. Is that too long of a motion?
What do you wanna do with coaches?
We'd have to hire them for the 22-23 school year.
Yeah, I mean, to me, at that point, we put it out, and if someone wants to apply, I mean, there's an opening for head coach and for assistant coach.
Speaking of what Amy just told me, she said she would be willing to bargain again in consider
Well,
any of those.
yeah, because next year we've already
Right,
So that's why
We
I
can
told
do
him,
a-
I said we would be willing to
Do we do an
that,
MOU
that's
or what do we
okay.
have to do for that for a 1-year deal?
Do I have to bring cookies?
I'm sorry, I didn't want to hear what Amy said.
We had bargained with the board already.
Right.
We did a 2-year contract, so I know that wouldn't be till 2023, so that would be a late thing for us. So if you wanted to bargain again so that we can include that supplemental desk, we would be willing to do that quickly.
And we might need to do that even earlier, like November, December, so I know
We could do it
then
next
we're
week if you wanted
working
to.
on schedules
That's not a
and
problem.
coaches
Okay.
and,
Thank you.
cause it's gonna take at least a half a year to get that.
I just wanna make sure
Is
you
it-
guys knew that we were open to that.
Is that something we need to
Thank you, Amy.
consider for approving this
We need
contract?
Is there a second?
Yeah, Jay.
Aye.
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 Okay, the last thing I have,
Hold on, I got another question.
I'm excited.
Do we need to
for
put
this.
a maximum number for the wrestling fund? So essentially, I know they're gonna have to buy a lot of stuff, but should we set a cap on that, or is
I
that
think we should
something that?
figure out how much we're talking, if we need 2 mats, then we need to look at capital outlay to get it from there, cause we could fix it quick and not kill the budget by any means, so.
I just don't wanna hand out an open checkbook and,
I agree.
you know.
I think we're responsible in
Once you
our-
pass the mats.
Yeah.
If you put 20,000 on the mats, that gets you 2 quality mats. I mean, I think that would probably be the only thing, everything else
is
is
pretty-
gonna be minimal when it comes to expense, if you wanted to make.
Where are you gonna house those mats is the biggest thing. I mean, that is one, you roll them up, you roll them out, you roll them up, you roll them out, that tears them up every single day, because are you gonna have the facilities to house those mats? They can lay out there and staple that every day, and it's a wrestling room. Because when you start rolling those mats up every single day, they break down. Plain and simple.
Don't know.
Yes, we
Don't
can
know.
have to.
Back to logistics.
I think there's a lot of things for us to consider and a lot of details that we need to figure out. I think we all agree. But I think we all support bringing the program to Osage City.
I think our hopes would be to keep those open at the rec building, practice down there, bring them up here for a meet.
But yeah, I think those are all details that we obviously need to. But as far as a cap outside of the mats, I think everything else seems like a reasonable
Okay.
thing. I mean,
Alright, so we'll have a wrestling program starting in 22-23.
I know, I just.
Do you wanna make a motion, Corey, or should we make a motion to say we'll spend up to $20,000, get 2 quality
No.
mats, or do you
No.
wanna just, yeah?
I think we'll just
do
leave
it.
it.
No,
Well, the price I gave you was the low end of it, so, what I'm hearing is we don't wanna go cheap, so,
Yeah, I would get the
you know.
better mats, I agree.
Well,
I think we also start
the
with
first
one.
hit's always the hardest when you start a program. I mean,
I think if you're gonna do it, you probably do it right.
We wanna look at the life cycle.
All right,
The last thing I have, are we done with that?
Yep.
Okay, the last thing I have is I would like to request the possibility of having an assistant girls golf coach. I have 11 girls out, 4 of them are experienced, and 7 of them's never touched a club before. So the concern is being gone for meets, and then who's supervising those newbies. And so she just can't be in both places, so I'd really recommend that we
Mrs.
get
Harmon
it.
is our new golf coach, correct?
Mrs. Harmon's our new coach.
Did we get anybody for the boys? I seen that does.
Still have not, no, it's still posted.
Still.
But I've got ideas, so, if I can get this
Same
assist, if I can, yeah. Possibility the boys coach might help here and the girls coach help there.
Excellent.
So do you need a motion for that?
If I could have a motion to open up an assistant girls golf coach.
I would make that motion. So we open up the position of assistant golf coach.
Aye.
I
That's all, Mrs. Paul.
Mrs. Paul, your turn.
Okay, in the elementary, I just wanted to say, thank you to the Kiwanis Club of Osage City, the Community Covenant Church, Blessings from a Friend Ministries at ECAN. They provided our school with a whole bunch of school supplies, and it is very much appreciated by our families and our students. So thank you to all of those community service organizations, really appreciate all of that. Summer school report, I want to thank my Summer Stars teachers and bus drivers and our Step Up to Second Grade teachers for helping our students succeed in reading and math during a 3-week session. If any of you would like to look at their data, they have all collected data. There's no names on it whatsoever. It's just all about all the good things that happened. And I do have handouts for all of you if you'd like to look at that. Overall, the attendance rate was really high. Students may have missed probably just because of vacations getting in the way, and that's gonna happen. One thing I think that our parents said was very appreciative was having bus transportation. So that was really nice to have that, kids transported. We do have quite a few new staff members. I just kind of wanted to, can I say their names? Our new staff members, so everybody knows on the board who they are? From Three Lakes and everything, is that okay?
I don't think that's a problem.
Rebecca Glover, because you guys need to probably know this for, if you come into my building, you're gonna see several new staff people. Rebecca Glover is our interrelated teacher in first, and she's gonna do half of first and all of second grade. She's an Osage City graduate. Jen Brown is going to be our new preschool teacher. We just hired her from Three Lakes just hired her last week, so we're excited to have her in pre-KC. Roxanne Went is gonna be our new speech therapist. We have Laura Walquist and Erin Whalen and Joy Cassiano, who will all be paraeducators in preschool, which we're very much needed.
I can't write that fast.
Oh, I'm sorry.
I'm still on Roxanne.
Laura Walquist.
Okay.
Erin Whalen.
Okay.
And Joy Cassiano, a lot of you may know Joy, she was actually a paraeducator in the high school, and she's transferred down to the elementary school, so very thankful to have her. McKenna Lacey, who was one of our custodians, is now one of our paraeducators, so we're excited about having her, and she'll be in K1. Lindsay Heptonstall and Leanne Hastert will both be paraeducators in first grade and second grade. And then today we just hired another paraeducator for fifth grade, and her name is Danielle Tell. So a bunch of new staff in my building, especially on the paraeducator side.
Are your paras full?
We are full for paras. We are so blessed and thankful we can actually start the school year well. I don't know about these guys, but my building's good. The numbers in the elementary enrollment, I don't know if you guys wanna write these down, but in pre-K 3, we have 28 3-year-olds gonna be coming into our building. Pre-K 4, we have 45 4-year-olds, which that's a pretty high number right now. Probably not great to have that big of number in preschool, so that may be something that we need to look at maybe down the line. Corey, you were right.
I believe it.
Kindergarten is 55, which we had 11 new kindergartners come into our kindergarten this year, and we're like, what happened? So that's kind of exciting. First grade, we have 48 enrolled. Second grade, we have 46. Third grade is actually our smallest at 37 students. Fourth grade is 38 students. Fifth grade is 46. And I did tell you kindergarten had 11 new students. Second grade was in second place with 5 new students. Our total enrollment right now is 343 in the elementary school. So that kind of gives you an idea.
Including, that's head count with pre-K, right?
Yes, that includes preschool. Yes, exactly right.
Tony was 232 and she was 343.
And that's all I had.
Mr. Raymond.
Middle school, not a lot for middle school, numbers right now, as of right now, for sixth grade, we have 56, seventh grade, 45, and eighth grade, 62, for a total of 163. So we are down a little, but we've been up the last couple of years, so it's a little welcome to some of our teachers. We've been packed to the rim, and we got a little breathing room right now, so it's not bad in the middle school. Other than that, we started, our back to school in services. Our staff are excited to be back. We know there's some challenges ahead, but they're positive. I think we got some good things in place still. We learned a lot from last year, and like Kelly said earlier, we're gonna try to treat everyone with respect, no matter what their decision is, and continue to work together, and I think we'll do fine. So we're just fired up and ready to go Friday.
Hey, and we want to invite everyone to the back to school night tomorrow night from 5 to 7. It's mainly for pre-K through 8th grade students. But it's a free hot dog meal and a chance for the elementary students to bring their school supplies and meet teachers, that kind of thing. So it's 5 to 7 tomorrow
So
night.
can we recess in a second?
Awesome. It's tomorrow night, it's crazy.
We can recess after. If you make the motion to take a 5-minute break.
Yes, please.
No,
I think you're so
I'm frozen from my, and I'll never go back. I'm never today.
You tell me.
Is
I'd
that
rather
good?
get if I do it this way, we just do
I love lots.
That's fine. I move we go into executive session to discuss confidential personnel matters pursuant to the non-elected personnel exception under coma. With the superintendent present, I'm sorry.
After a break.
We was gonna do this, cause that's only gonna do 5 minutes and then take a break.
Okay.
And the open meeting to resume in here in 5 minutes, so we'll call 9:20. Again, with the superintendent present.
Aye.
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 Aye. And I'm gonna excuse myself out of this one.
Okay, we're back in open session. I make a motion to adopt the agreement discussed in executive session.
Second, aye.
Aye.
Nay.
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. All right, I make a motion that we take a 5-minute break.
Second, aye.
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 Aye. Aye.
You guys said aye.
Aye.
Are you back in, Tony? You're on?
Yeah.
Okay, you're good.
I thought you
Sorry.
never turned us off.
I forgot. We were on already.
I move we go into executive session to discuss negotiation topics pursuant to the exception for employer negotiations under common open meeting will resume in the boardroom at 9:40 with the superintendent to be present.
Second, aye.
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 Aye. 5
we're back.
minutes.
Yeah.
I'll make a motion, we extend our executive session for 5 minutes, which would be for executive session pursuant to the exception for employer-employee negotiations under Tacoma, being back in, let's say 9:46.
Second.
Aye.
I
Aye. Make a motion that we go into executive session to discuss, which one is it again? The same one? Discuss negotiation topics pursuant to the exception for employer-employee negotiations on the phone and open meeting will resume in here in 5 minutes, I'll say 9:52 with just the board present. Second time.
Aye.
Aye.
teacher's contract, what the contract is? Or we just approve the
No,
contract?
you just contract is ratified.
So we need to do these individually then, I'm assuming, right?
Yeah.
So I would make the motion that we approve the teacher's contract as ratified by the teachers.
Second,
Aye.
Aye.
I would also make a motion that we approve the classified staff at anybody below $15 an hour will get a $1.50 an hour increase, and anybody above that gets 50 cents an hour, and nobody will overtake anybody on the pay scale.
second,
Aye.
Aye.
I'd also make a motion that we approve for the administration for Tim Reaman and Dina Paul, $12.50. For Tony Heward and Troy Hutton, $7.50.
second,
Aye.
Aye.
Okay, then I'll make a motion that we go into executive session to discuss classified positions pursuant to the non-elected personnel exception under coma, and the open meeting will resume in the boardroom at 10:15
With everybody.
with superintendent. There we need to do. Yeah, superintendent.
second,
Aye.
Aye.
Okay, I would like to start off by rescinding a motion made earlier on the classified personnel and change it to anybody under the pay rate of $14.90 an hour will receive the $1.50, and anybody above that will receive 50 cents an hour in their new contracts.
Second,
Aye.
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 Aye. And then I would like to make a motion, we approve the resignation of custodian McKenna Lacey, to approve Jim Lohmeyer as a tech route driver, Maxine Burns, Charity Kearns, and Kelly Ornder as student drivers, to approve Regina Pickens as a night custodian, to approve Tammy Cerna as assistant middle school volleyball coach, and approve the resignation of Dennis Fort from assistant baseball high school coach.
second, aye.
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 Aye. Motion carries. Okay, then we wanna go back in?
Yeah.
How long you want, 10, 15, 15?
15.
I'll move, go into executive session to discuss classified positions pursuant to the non-elected personnel exception under coma. And the open meeting will resume in the boardroom at 10:33 with the superintendent present.
Second, aye.
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 We're back.
All right, we're back in open session.
I move we adjourn.
Second.
Aye.
Hi.
Aye.
Aye.
Aye.